Hi, Orange Girl here with another scrapbooking process video for you. I am working with 4 pieces of Flair from a Flair for Buttons and a whole bunch of Shimmerz paints for this layout today. When you go over and grab some Shimmerz paint up for yourself, make sure that you mention my name in the comments and you will earn a little mini surprise that will come in with your order. So I started out with a couple of different cut files, one of which I use and one of which I don't. So I don't end up using those vellum pieces right there because they just didn't show up. And those are Cut Shoppe cut files. But I did use a Cut Shoppe cut file for the background little raindrops. And then I'm using a whole bunch of Shimmerz paints, and I will link the different kinds that I'm using below and the title or the name of them. But I'm using some colorings. I'm using some let's see, Shimmerz products. Let's see, I use pink Stilettos, which is colorings, no Yolking, Peachy Keen, don't Citron me. Then I use some Vibez, pink Moscato, Sunset Strip, Mango Tango, Hermit the Frog, and then Shimmerz Pip Pip Cheerio and Orange Sherbet. So what my idea is here is I wanted to create something that kind of looked like it was raining a rainbow a little bit. And so I'm adding just some splatters of various paints, and then I'm adding some water over the top of that, and then using a little bit of the packaging technique. And it starts out that way, and I like it. It's okay, but I end up going full-blown packaging technique. Well, kind of here coming up so that the background ends up to be a little bit more solid, but then I have enough layers over the top that you can see how there are little dots of paint as if it kind of rained the paint, I guess, a little bit. The reason that I'm using so many different paints is because I wanted to have variance in the color. So I didn't want it to just be pink Stilettos. I wanted to add that pink Moscato and the Pip Pip Cheerio kind of all to that same area. And it just gives it a little bit more depth, a little bit more interest. I don't know, I just like the way it looks. And oftentimes when I'm painting something that's more of a solid color, I end up not using one color. I use several colors. Does that make sense? So that's what I'm doing. And I think it's around this point when I add that Don't Citron Me and the Hermit the Frog colors that I went, you know what, I really kind of want this to be a little bit more solid paint, I guess, for the lack of a better word. It's not solid, but it looks more watercolory and it fills in more of the white spaces. That's what I mean by solid. More of the white space ends up being covered than what I was originally thinking in my head. So if you're wondering how I did the cut file piece, I went ahead and I just used a cut file, which I think I can link that one below too. That I took the raindrops off a cut file and I just repeated it over and over and over at the top and at the bottom. And then I left a space in the middle where I knew my pictures were going to go. And I just left that space empty for the painting and the pictures. So that's all I did for that. Let's see. So I'm just adding a bunch of different layers here. So you might think it's strange that I'm doing a layout like this in the fall when it looks very springy, but I am doing this layout. These are actually fairly fall pictures. I mean, they were taken late summer. I can't remember the dates, but we have had non-stop rain. Like I saw a meme that said, I'm so glad it only rained twice this summer, once for 45 days and once for 30 days or something like that. So it's just been non-stop rain. And just when you just cannot stand the rain any longer, then we'll get a little peak of sun here and there, and then it just starts raining again. And that's just kind of how the whole fall has been. And on one day, my daughter just decided we had to walk out to the car from the school in the rain, and it's not a short pace. It's pretty. I mean, it's not long. It's not like a mile or anything like that. But it's you would get wet if you did not have an umbrella. You would definitely get wet. And so she had her umbrella and I had my umbrella, and she started singing in the Rain. And like, it just struck me that there was no way that it was going to get this girl down, that we have been suffering from rain and she hasn't been able to play outside, and it's just been, well. So, so I took video of her singing, and I didn't take any pictures. But I took video and I posted it. So if you follow me on Facebook, or I might have even posted on Instagram, um, you might see the video. Actually, we might have posted it on a private one. I can't remember. But anyway, so she sang Singing in the Rain, and she had this whole routine that she did, that she made up practically on the spot. I mean, she practiced it a couple times inside, and then when we went outside, she did it. It was adorable. Anyway, so I just thought I've got to scrap that story, but I didn't take any pictures. So I ended up grabbing a few pictures from the video and adding and printing those off. And I'm using those for this layout. And of course I couldn't decide which ones to use, so I just picked 4. Okay, so what I decided to do here was my 4 different colors, my green, my yellow, my orange, and my pink. I decided I would do one of these raindrops and stitch around each one with one color. So above the green, I'm stitching a green. Above the yellow, I'm stitching a yellow, and so on. Not sure what I did there with my camera. I'm not sure why I moved my camera. Sorry about that. So then typically when I do stitching on layouts, I split the floss, and I just use like 3 strands or whatever. And for this one, I really wanted it to stand out a little bit more, so I went ahead and I used all 6. And I just am doing a stitch around the outside, just like I think it's called a back stitch. And that's it. So I do just 4 of those. And then off camera, I let it sit there for a really long time because I just couldn't, I really wanted to use those vellum pieces that I showed at the very beginning, and I could not make them work. And I tried cutting them with different paper, and I tried all these different things, and I just couldn't get them to show up the way that I wanted them to. And so this sat on my desk for a couple weeks probably before I finished it. And so one thing that I do off camera is I finish this stitching and I add some machine stitching to the area that's going to be behind the photo. So that's coming up here in a second. And once I did that, then I was like, oh, I can totally finish this. I love this now. And so I was really sad because I didn't think I was going to get to finish it. And I really liked the idea of the stitching around the raindrops. And I really liked the background and the way the background turned out. But it just didn't have something that I needed it to have. And so once I got the idea to go ahead and use my machine to stitch in the area that my photos are going to go, it just adds so much fun to it that I just loved it. So here is the stitching all finished. I stitched around those 4, and then I stitched with the machine on the bottom. So I have already cut around the outside of this so that it's a little bit smaller than a 12 by 12. And I have put a bunch of foam, it's just craft foam on it. And I wanted it to stand up a little bit so that the blue behind it, there would be a little bit of depth behind there so you could see a little bit of a shadow. So I went ahead and did that and glued that down, and then I let that, I think I actually let it sit overnight after I glued it down because I just really wanted it to be done and not move around while I was working on it. So I have all this Vicki Boutin stuff, and I bought her latest collection, which I absolutely love. And when I purchased it, I bought 2 packs of one pack of a cup. There's like one ephemera pack, I think, that is all flowers maybe, and then another one that has other things in it. And so what you saw me doing there was I was just going through those 2 packs of ephemera and picking out things that match the color, because I'm going to do color blocking here because it just makes sense to me. And I knew I wanted to add some pops of black because that's just what I do. I love lots of color with pops of black. And I found these early on, I found these flare buttons from a Flair for Buttons, and they're all hearts, and I think it's called Linen Hearts or something like that, and I'll link it below. I love, love, love it. So I found colors that match for those, and now I'm just kind of trying to figure out which ones I'm going to use. That little umbrella I used, I cut from the same cut file that made the raindrops in the back. This little umbrella is also on that same cut file, and so I cut that out with some yellow, and then added some white so that the little hearts on the umbrella will stand out. And I liked it that there were hearts on the umbrella and hearts on the flare, which is cool. So then I cut out Singing with my Silhouette Cameo, and I just used a font that was on my computer. I'm not really sure what it is. I can't remember. And the title is going to be Singing in the Rain. And I did struggle a little bit with this because because of where I did the stitching on the raindrops. I didn't want to cover that up, but I couldn't find a good location for my title because of where they were. So I end up curving Singing a little bit, and I like the way that looks. That was kind of my idea. I wanted to curve it. That's why I made it out of the font that I did. And so then that works really well. Here in a minute, you'll see it. Look how many times I ended up moving this. I should have probably cut some of that out, but anyway, that's my process. Just a little hint, for the word Singing, I did actually cut it 3 times out of the black, and then I glued just black cardstock, and then I glued them on top of each other. It just gives it's a little bit thicker, and it works a little bit more like thickers then. And I just like the way it looks on the page. So there's that. I did my journaling, I think on my, I think I printed it, or not printed it, I think I typed it on my typewriter. And what you're seeing me do here is I'm just cutting it into strips, and it doesn't fit. It doesn't end up working right. And so in a few seconds here, you're going to see it cut off. I'm going to kind of like move my hands like I'm frustrated, and I'm going to cut the video, and when I come back I have it ready to go. I had to retype it a little bit so that I could reword it just a skosh so that it would fit better. So what it ends up saying is, we have had an abundance of rain causing dreary skies and even some flooding. Instead of dreading the walk to the car in the rain, Bee danced and sang all the way, which was just what I needed, which totally is the story. Totally is the story. So all that I really have left here is I'm putting a little bit of vellum behind the pictures, and I'm gluing everything down. At this point, I think I switched the pictures around from the way I had it, like the order a little bit. I originally had the pictures in chronological order, and then it kind of bothered me that there were 2 close-ups of her face that were primarily a lot of color, like those 2 that are in the middle. It bothered me that they were both on one side. It just didn't feel right to me. No one else probably would have noticed. I don't know. But it just didn't feel right to me, so I ended up moving those around. So what I'm doing here is I'm kind of pairing a piece of ephemera that is a heart with a button, basically, with one of the flare buttons. And then another one, I think there just wasn't a yellow heart, but there was a banner that said happy and had a heart on it, and that was yellow, so I ended up using that. And there are a few little things, like one says balance, the good stuff, wow, smile, sunshine on a cloudy day, true story, happy, make these moments count. Those kind of phrases are on the ephemera pieces that I end up choosing for this layout, which, fit the sentiment. So when I was going through the ephemera at the beginning, that's kind of what I was looking for. I was looking for color and things that fit the sentiment. So I'm almost finished here gluing everything down, and I actually, once I get stuff glued down, I get ready to take my photographs, like, so that I can, get ready to post it and have the close-ups and all that kind of stuff. And I realized I had completely forgotten that I had the idea that I was going to go ahead and use some of the chipboard that comes with this collection, because there were some great phrases in there that I really liked and that matched the colors and all of that. And so in a second here, you're going to see me, I'm going to come back in and add a bunch of the chipboard embellishments that just have some more phrases, and also in with some of the what do you call it, like the alphabet, not alphabet, sorry, the phrases. There's black phrases that go with this that are like I don't know what they're made out of. They're shiny. I can't think of, like puffy stickers, kind of. They're that texture, but they're phrases, and there are a bunch of black hearts in that, and so I use those to add more pops of black, which all the time I was thinking I was going to add some black to this, and I didn't add that much. And so when I add those hearts, which you'll see here in a minute, I was like, yes, that's what I was looking for. That's what I wanted. So with every little piece here, I ended up finding something that I really liked a lot better. Everything I added, these are what I was talking about here. They have little hearts, and then there's little like asterisks and stars, I think maybe. And so I add these, and look how that just pops off the page. It makes the color look better. It makes the pictures look better. It makes the title look better. It makes it look more balanced. I just was like, how did I not remember to put those on? Here I was going to take pictures as if it was over and I was done. And I forgot some of the most important parts. So then I get this all on, and I'm like, it's still not, there's still something missing up at the top. You'll see me kind of point up at the top here in a few minutes. I'm like, what am I going to do up there? I didn't have anything left that would work. And I thought, do I need a strip of something? What do I need? Yeah, that's where I'm like, I need something up there. And then I saw this. Perfect. That just made me so happy when I found that. I was like, yes, that finishes it up. I don't know if that ever happens to you, but that's what I ended up doing. So here come the close-ups. Thanks a lot for stopping by. I hope that you enjoyed this, and leave me some comments if you have any questions, and I will do my best to answer them. Thanks a lot. Look for another video coming very, 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 very soon, by the way. Also, it might be my birthday today. Just saying.